Welcome, everyone, to the podcast. I think this is number 10. I know it's been a couple of months since we've done one of these, but by popular demand, really, I'm bringing them back because I do think they were really helpful. At first, I wasn't sure many people were watching them, but I've had actually quite a few people ask me specifically why I wasn't doing them and can I bring them back. So I decided, you know what, if there are even just a few people who are getting some kind of benefit out of these podcasts, I will definitely bring them back because there's definitely a lot more information I can go over and a lot more, techniques, practices, and training and all these other ideas I can go over in a podcast due to the length. And if there are people out there who are willing to listen to a 30-minute podcast, who are willing to expand their learning and their knowledge in this sport, then I definitely want to make sure I'm making these, okay? So what the plan is to bring these back on Wednesdays. In fact, I'm going to be changing the whole upload schedule. If you're on my email list, you probably got you would have gotten a email today, or not today, actually. This won't be released on the same day, but you should have got an email a few days ago on the 24th that said that I'm going to be changing the format of the channel. I'm going to be changing the upload schedule, and I told you guys what that was going to be. If you're not on my email list, you can go in the description down below, and there'll be a link to go to the email list. You'll also get a free ebook if you do that, so it's basically win-win, and you'll get weekly updates about the channel and stuff like that. Also, join my Facebook page. You can just go down below and like the page. I'm actually thinking about doing a Facebook group for Simply Soccer. Let me know if you guys actually are interested in that. The difference will be that it'll be more interactive. You guys can post things on the page. It'll just be more of a group, a collective, than me just posting different things when videos are out. So I kind of want to make it more interactive and encourage you guys to post on there and post what you need help with and for you guys to help each other and all of that. So let me know if that's something you guys would want. And if you do, I'll definitely create a Facebook group instead of just the page. Also, make sure you follow me on Snapchat because I'm going to be doing a lot more behind the scenes updates on Snapchat. In fact, I'm going to try and do that daily or at least a few times a week. So if you want to be more involved with the channel, you want to know what's going on, you want to know when new videos are coming out, you want to know what those videos are, and all of that. And if you want even some of your questions answered, because I may highlight some of the questions I'm asked and answer them in Snapchat, make sure you follow me. The handle name, I believe, is SimplySoccer08, and you can follow me on there. You can also follow me on Instagram at SimplySoccerPro. I'm not as active on there right now, but I probably will be more in the future. Okay, so let's get right into the video then. I think that's enough updates for you guys. I just wanted to make sure I got that all in because we haven't done a podcast in a while. Again, we're going to try and do these every single Wednesday. You can also ask me questions that you want answered. I don't know if I'm going to continue with that. Or if I'm just going to pick my own topics I think are very important, but definitely keep asking them because if I get a really good question, I'm not going to not answer it. If I get a question and I look at it and go, wait a second, this is really good, a lot of people could benefit from this being answered, or at least, get a little bit of insight from it. So keep asking your questions, guys, and if I like them, I'll definitely answer them. Just don't be disappointed if I don't. I can only answer so many, and I can only go over so many ideas. So in this one, we are going to go over a few questions that were asked. Someone asked me, or a few people asked me a little bit ago in previous podcasts, and then I have a question or an idea that I wanted to cover, which I'm going to go over first, that I just think will be good to cover, because although no one's asked me to make a podcast about it, I think it's important, and a lot of people do ask me questions like this. Okay, so let's get right into it. So the first thing we need to go over, let me just check how much time, okay, cool, that we should be going over is I want to talk about how to become motivated for soccer, whether that's practices, whether that's games, whether that's just your individual training. How do you motivate yourself to do that? Now, first and foremost, and we won't spend an incredible amount of time on this, but I just want to emphasize something, or at least cover something in depth here a little bit, and it's that motivation is overrated. And that might sound weird, but let me explain that. You see, we a lot of us base our success or predicate our success on on motivation. We believe that, if we're not motivated, we can't do something. You'll hear your friends or your family or people when they didn't do something, their excuse being, well, I just didn't have the motivation to do it. I didn't have the energy to do it, or something of that nature. Well, when you want to be successful at something, when you want to get something done, and we'll relate this to soccer, if you want to become a better player, you can't use the excuse of, I wasn't feeling it. I just wasn't feeling it on that day. I didn't want to practice that day. I wasn't motivated. I didn't have the energy, something of that nature. Because the fact of the matter is, you will always have times, even the people who are really successful right now, they have moments, probably frequently, where they don't feel motivated. But what separates these people and professional footballers and just people who are successful in general, what separates them and many successful people who I've looked at and studied have said what separates them is that they don't give up, or they don't not do something because of that. They push through those uncomfortable barriers. They push through that lack of motivation and still get things done. So basically, the point I'm trying to say here is that habits and consistency and momentum are much more important than motivation. Now, I'm not saying motivation isn't good, and I'm not saying motivation isn't important, but have you ever, for example, felt this? Because I felt this a lot, and still to this day feel this. There's still times that I struggle with this, but a lot of time I'll watch like a video. I'll watch something very motivational. I'll watch a motivational talk. I'll watch something that resonates with me. And after having watched that video, I'll have a surge of motivation in that moment. And I'm sure a lot of you have experienced this as well, where you've just become motivated for whatever reason, whether watching a video, whether reading something, whatever it may be. But then later in the same day, after you've visualized all the success you're now going to have, and you visualized all the work you're going to put in when you were motivated, later in the day when you're not motivated, you don't end up doing that. You end up breaking the momentum you thought you were going to build. Now, I'm sure that every single person listening to this has gone through a situation like that. And that's why motivation alone is not enough to basically propel you towards becoming a better player, towards being successful, towards making the team, towards having standout performances and things of that nature. You cannot put all of your eggs in the motivational basket. That isn't going to work. Now, again, I don't have a problem with motivation. I think motivation is important. I think that coaches that can motivate their players are very important. I think that players that can motivate themselves in the moment are very important. But you cannot rely just on motivation to get out there and practice. You cannot rely just on motivation in order to play well, to get better, to make the team, to play well in matches. Because as soon as that motivation leaves you, then you're so used to only performing well while motivated that you're going to perform poorly when you're not. So instead of just relying on motivation, we need to build up some kind of foundation. We need to build up some kind of consistency, and something that when that motivation isn't there allows you to still play well, right? So even when you don't have the videos that motivate you, when you don't have the numerous YouTube channels that motivate you in the moment, when you don't have the coach there that usually motivates you, when you're just not, for whatever reason, motivated, you need to have that foundation that allows you and causes you to still do what you're going to do even without that motivation. And again, motivation is great, and it definitely, in my own life, helps me to do things sometimes. But the thing is, even when I don't want to do something, I know I have to push through. And the reason I can push through, the reason I can still practice or work out or create videos or work on products or whatever it is I need to do or I've planned on doing, the reason I can still do that even when I'm not motivated is because I've built a foundation. I've maintained consistency. I've developed momentum to the point where I can do those things without much resistance. Because I understand at first, when you haven't built up these habits, that resistance is a lot stronger. So for example, we can use working out as an analogy here. If you're working out and you have the motivation, let's say the motivation is enough to get you through a week or 2 weeks. You're motivated. You're like, I'm going to get ripped. I'm going to get in great shape. I'm really motivated to do this. I'm going to stick with this. I'm going to eat right. I'm going to do everything I need to do. I'm going to look at all the advice. I'm going to read all these, all these articles, watch all these videos on how to do it. And let's say that gets you through the first 2 weeks. But after the first 2 weeks, you start losing a little bit of your motivation. Your body's starting to ache a little bit. It's a little hard to keep up with the eating. If you've never developed the habit before, it is going to be really hard. There's going to be a lot of resistance from your ego, from other things that are going to tell you, you know what, you're kind of sore today. So why don't you just skip today and we can do it tomorrow? And I've done this before, where I'll say that I'll work out for a month or so, and then there'll be a day I'm really sore, not injured, but sore. Just I'm sore, I'm stiff, or there'll be a day when I'm not feeling that great, and my ego will go, "Why don't you just take this day off? We'll do it tomorrow. We'll make it up." But the problem is, you take that one day off, you're now giving yourself justification to take the next day off and the next. And eventually you've gone a whole week without working out and you're like, whoa, how did I go a whole week there without working out? This is why motivation isn't reliable. And again, it is good to have, and it's a good starting point. Like I said, it can get you past that first and second week, but you need to get used to pushing against that resistance that's causing you to not do what it is you want to do. So whether let's bring this full circle back, we'll bring it right back to soccer here. So let's say it has to do with individual soccer practice, because I guarantee there's some of you who are listening to this that are not really practicing soccer individually as much as you should be. And you're still probably wondering, why am I not getting better? Why am I not getting good at this? It's probably just because you're not putting in the time and the effort you need to be putting in individually, and you're justifying it, and you're saying that, and you think that you are, but you're not. Now let's relate it to that. Let's say for a week or two, you have the motivation, maybe even after listening to this or watching a video or something, to practice every day or every other day, or create some kind of schedule to stick to. It's that third week, or whenever you are facing resistance, whenever you start to face that resistance of, I don't want to do it, I don't feel like it, I'll do it later, some kind of excuse, or your ego comes and tells you these things and makes excuses for you. It's in that moment where you need to resist. You need to push through it. And the motivation isn't what's going to cause it. Motivation is not what's going to get you through that. It's going to be your own willpower, and it's going to eventually be the habits that you build up. But it's by getting through this resistance, this resistant period. It's called a pain period when you're learning a new skill. Through that pain period, when you're working out, when you've been working out for a while, you'll get to a pain period. When you've been practicing for a while, you get to a pain period. In certain other sports or other skills you're learning, you'll get to a pain period where things are a lot more difficult, where you don't think you're learning as fast, where things are harder to do. But it's the most telling time of anyone's growth. It's the most telling time whenever you want to learn a new skill or get better at soccer, as we're relating this to soccer. And if you can push through that resistance period, through that pain period, things will get infinitely easier after that. I'm not saying they'll be super easy after that, but they'll be infinitely easier. Once you push through that pain period, once you develop that consistency, things will be easier. The resistance will be less. You'll still have to be aware and alert and vigilant and make sure you're still sticking through and you're doing your habits and all that, but it will be much less. So I kind of went off on a few tangents there. Let me just check the time. A few tangents there, but don't worry about that. I just wanted to make sure you guys are aware, because I've had people ask me, how do I motivate myself and all this? Motivation is good. Okay, find out what does motivate you. And I can't tell you what motivates you. Everyone is different. If you want to know what motivates me, a lot of things motivate me. Certain goals motivate me. Certain videos I watch motivate me. Certain success that other people have achieved motivate me to get to that level. Watching certain players motivate me. There are many things that motivate me, and you have to find out what those are for you, because motivation, again, can be a useful tool, but it's not where you should put all of your eggs. It's not where you cannot put all of your eggs, like I said, in that one basket. You cannot just rely on motivation, because there will be days, and I know you've experienced this because everyone has, there will be days when you're just not motivated. But on those days, if you don't do what you need to do, you're going to break that momentum and that consistency that you've worked on up until that point. Okay? So I just don't want you to put so much emphasis on motivation. I don't want you to completely forget about it, because again, it's important. I like to, for example, when working out, I like to listen to motivational music or motivational tracks, because it helps me in that moment work out better. But I do not predicate my success off simply just motivation. I make sure my goal is to develop the habits that will then lead me towards getting better at something. Okay, so we spent a bit of time on that. We have a bit more time left, so that's the main probably topic of this video is how to motivate yourself. And again, I know that we've kind of not really talked too much about how to actually motivate yourself. I told you a few methods of my own, but what's more important than motivation? Okay, so that's something definitely to think about. Again, motivating yourself is important, but you really need to, it's a really important period when you lose motivation and you still have to do what you want to do or what you need to do. And you can really look back at most people, I believe, most people I've seen who have been successful. What did they do during that pain period? Did they give up? Did they stop? Did they stop taking action? Did they stop doing what they were doing? Or did they push through? And you'll find in like 99% of successful stories that they pushed through. They pushed against that resistance that was trying to tell them to take a break or to stop or that they're, or make some kind of excuse once their motivation left. Once the pain outweighed the motivation, they still pushed through. That's the thing. When you're first motivated, your motivation is bigger than the pain. But eventually, when your motivation starts to diminish, the pain is enveloping and overwhelming the motivation. And it's in that period you need to push through and stick with it. And that will really, and you'll reap the rewards from that. Trust me, you will benefit so much from that. But it's very important that you push through that. So I don't even know if that's going to be motivating for you guys, but that's kind of just I want to tell you things that are actually, I don't want to just sit here and try and be like, yeah, motivate yourself. You got to be motivated. You got to do this, because I just don't think that's the case. I want to be trying to tell you guys things that are going to help you. Okay. So that's why I have on motivation right there. Let's take a look at some other questions I was asked. So we have about 15 minutes or so that, before I want to end this. So we're going to go quickly through 3 questions I have here, or we'll see how many we get through. So a little bit ago on a podcast, someone asked me what type of drills are the best for ball control. So I'll spend a little bit of time on this. And I think I've already covered this either in a previous podcast or in many videos, but let me just make this very short, short, sweet, and to the point, okay? Now, first and foremost, ball control, yes, is one of the most important skills in all of soccer. If you can't control the ball, you can't do much with it. It's what I call a foundation skill. It's one of those skills that you have to, it's part of your foundation as a soccer player when it comes to skills with the ball. And if you can't control the ball, you can basically not do much else, right? So a lot of things stem from ball control. Now, what ball control essentially is how comfortable you are with the ball. Can you control it? Can you manipulate it? Can you make it do what you want it to do? Essentially, can you think of something in your mind and then make the ball do that thing? So whether that's move in a certain direction, take the ball out of the air, stop it on your chest, bring it to your feet, to some more complicated forms of control. If you can do those things most times, you have good ball control. Now, how do you improve this? Well, I've gone over many times, I feel like people want me to give them like specific drills, but the fact of the matter is there's one thing in particular that's going to improve your ball control, and that's muscle memory. And what I mean by that is the more touches on the ball you get, the better your ball control will become. Through repetition, through consistency is really the biggest way you will improve your ball control. And one of the ways I recommend players to get good at ball control fast, or to at least, improve, or, kind of, the learning curve, cut the learning curve in half or whatever, to improve more quickly, is to kick a ball against a wall. And I feel like whenever I say this, most players are like, yeah, that's too simple. Or, yeah, okay, that's cool and all, but can you give me like some secret drill that's going to make me super good at ball control? I'm giving it to you. When I say kicking against the wall, players really underestimate how amazing this is as a football drill. It is one of the best things you can do. And the thing about kicking against a wall for like 30 minutes a day or something, is that it's multifaceted. It doesn't just work on your ball control. It works on your technique. You can work on your shooting, your dribbling. You can do so much with just a ball and a wall. And The thing is, if you're practicing by yourself, which you will have to do most times unless you have a teammate who's going to be as dedicated as you to practicing every day, but there are going to be times when you're practicing by yourself. When I practiced by myself when I was a teenager, when I was younger than a teenager, one of my favorite things to do, and I would do this after school, would be for 30 minutes to sometimes hours, kick a ball against a wall. And the amount of improvement that caused me to have, I can't even state in words. My ball control improved, my touch improved, my dribbling improved because I would practice skill moves there, my shooting technique improved, my passing technique, all of these things because just from kicking a ball against a wall every single day. And the thing is, people and players, I think, believe that a drill has to be complicated in order to help them. Usually that's never the case. Usually simplicity is the best way to go. The more simple something is, sometimes is going to be what's going to make you the most successful. You don't need to complicate it. People think that there's some kind of shortcut or silver bullet idea that's going to make them like really good, like really fast in a short amount of time. It's kind of, I compare it to get rich quick schemes. You know, I'm sure some of you have heard of those where like, you know, it's like, do this for 10 days and you'll become a millionaire. Those don't exist. Those do not exist. And there is this, it's the same in soccer. There is no secret super drill that's going to cause you to become a high level player in 10 days. What it really is going to become or come down to is being smart about your training and doing it consistently. So kicking against a wall, although may be a very simple idea, it's a very powerful idea. Do not think because it's so simple that it isn't something that can help you improve, because I feel like a lot of you are missing out if you were not doing this. So if you really want my recommendation on a drill, I'm only going to give you this drill, and that's kicking against a wall. And when you're kicking against a wall, use your left and your right. Bring the ball down in different ways. Use your chest, use your thighs, volley the ball against the wall, shoot the ball against the wall. Do some passing drills against the wall. Practice controlling it with the inside of your foot, the outside of your foot, your top of your foot. Take it out of the air. Try some different turns. Do all of these things. Just really experiment with the way you're moving the ball, the way you're controlling the ball against a wall. And I tell this to players all the time, you do that for as little as a week or two every single day, you'll see some improvements. Okay? So that was kind of a little bit of a rant right there. Definitely an emotionally charged segment here. But I want you guys to really see that you don't need these huge facilities or these professional level coaches or expensive equipment to improve as a player. One of the beautiful things about soccer or football, whatever you call it, there's a few things that make it beautiful. One is it's played everywhere, and two is you don't need much to play it. You literally need a ball, and you can find a wall. If anyone says they don't have a wall, find a wall. You can find a wall, okay? Doesn't matter. You don't need a wall at a field. I used to do it behind my house against a shop wall in an empty parking lot. You can definitely find something like that, okay? So if you want a ball control drill, do that. You don't have to take my word for it. You can completely ignore this advice, but I'm telling you, this will help you. This will help you improve, especially if you do it every day. Kick against a wall. Practice your different techniques. Practice different types of control, okay? We got about 7 minutes left. So now I'm going to go to, someone asked me how to increase your shot power. Now, I'm not going to cover this too much because I did a video on how to shoot a soccer ball with power and accuracy, and I will link that video in the description because that will basically explain everything you need to know. Basically, I'll just say a few things. The first one is to increase your shot power, and this might seem counterintuitive, is concentrate on technique over power. Now, I know that sounds very counterintuitive and that doesn't sound right, but the fact of the matter is, if you think about a soccer ball, or if you have one near you now, lift it up. It's not a heavy ball. You do not need to knock the stitching off it when you kick it in order to generate power. In fact, that's more likely to not give you power because you'll end up hitting the ball wrong. But if you concentrate on your technique and you use correct technique and you hit the ball well, it's going to fly. It's going to get the power you want. And it's easier to control that way as well, which means you can use power and accuracy, which is the combination you want. If you just hit it hard down the middle, the keeper's going to save it. But if you hit it hard towards the corners, they're usually not going to save it. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say on that. For the person who asked me that question a while ago, I don't know if you're watching this. I will link the video about shop power in the description, or for anyone else that wants to take a look at that video, if you haven't seen it already, or just want to take a look at it again if you want, that's in the description. Okay. So I actually do have one more question here, but and I've already tried to answer it, but I've actually deleted the audio I used to answer this question simply because I think this could take up a whole podcast by itself, and we only have about 5 minutes left here, and I don't want to, sell it short. I don't want to not do it justice. And the question is how to be confident in life, follow your dreams, and not listen to haters. Now, this isn't necessarily a only soccer involved question. This is a question that can, encompasses, or not encompasses, but includes many different areas of life, can include many different subjects. It doesn't necessarily just have to be soccer. This can just be in general. But of course, we will relate it to soccer. But I want to make an actual, I don't want to spend just 5 minutes on this topic. I don't think I even could, cover this topic in 5 minutes. So to whoever asked me that question, one great question: how to be confident in life, follow your dreams, and not listen to haters. I mean, let's just get real here. It's a great question. So what I'm going to do is I think next week that'll be one of the questions I answer. Now, again, keep leaving your questions down below. Again, I'm going to be picking topics I think are important to cover, but if I see good questions, if someone leaves me a really good question like this question I'm going to answer next week, I will use it. I'm not going to be very rigid with the format for these podcasts and say, no, it's only going to be what I want. No, if you ask me a really good question, and a question I think needs to be covered, and a question I think the answer to will benefit you guys, then of course I'll answer it. And I think how to be confident in life, follow your dreams, and not listen to haters is a great question. I'm actually reading a book which with a lot of things that can go towards answering this question, and there's definitely not just one answer to this question as well. So we're going to cover that question in next week's podcast, which will be next Wednesday. Again, we're going to try and stick with the Wednesday upload schedule, and like I said, the whole upload schedule on the channel is going to be revamped, reconsidered, and basically I'm going to put a new system into place. Again, I released that to my email list. Again, if you haven't joined, make sure you go in the description. Sorry, I'm like burping there. Go in the description and just click on the link that says free ebook. It'll take you to that. You'll get a free ebook. You can look at that if you want or not. Either way, you'll be on the email list, and you'll receive updates from the channel. You'll receive more information. In fact, I'm going to be putting a lot more effort into giving a lot of value out in my emails. So sometimes I'm going to be doing emails that are more in depth on topics that I've done videos on, and sometimes I may even be doing emails on topics I haven't even covered on a video. So if you're not on my email list, you are missing out on that, so make sure you do that. Also, make sure you follow me on social media, on Facebook. Again, Facebook page is down there. Let me know if you guys want me to make a Facebook group, which will allow it to be more interactive for you guys, a little more exclusive, as I'll make it a private group and I can filter who comes in and who comes out, and it will allow you guys to just communicate with each other more, help each other out, learn more, post things that you want that are approved, things of that nature. So if you guys are interested in a Facebook group opposed to just a Facebook page, which is what we have now, feel free to let me know. I'll definitely, if it gets enough people that want a Facebook group, I'll definitely do it. Okay. Also, I know there's another thing I meant to mention. Let me see here. Oh yeah, make sure you follow me on Snapchat. That's probably the social media outside of YouTube that I'm most active on. So YouTube is obviously number one. This Simply Soccer is, of course, mainly a YouTube channel. But I'm also very active on Snapchat. I make Snapchat stories all the time with advice, with upcoming videos, with some behind the scenes on how I edit stuff and things of that nature. So and also just some snaps from my everyday life. So if you want to, get a little peek into my life as well, you can definitely follow me on Snapchat to get a look at that. And of course, it's nothing too fancy or anything. It's just a normal, everyday kind of thing. But if that's something that interests you, if you want to get more involved with the channel and know more what goes on, definitely something to consider. Okay, guys. So if you're new to Simply Soccer, please, and you've made it this far, awesome, dude. That's amazing that you've listen to a podcast that's like 30 minutes long, even though you're not subscribed. So I would definitely recommend you subscribe if you want, simply because we're going to be doing these podcasts every week. And if you found this helpful, definitely be something that you should consider. And we also release regular videos that are designed to help you improve, whether it's on skill moves, on technique, on training, on drills, whatever it may be. We do a lot of videos that the main purpose of them is to help players get better. That is the main goal. They're not show-offy videos. They're not meant to be fancy videos. They're not meant to be videos that are based on, me showing off or anything, or me, doing free kicks. Although I could do videos like that in the future, but the main videos are ones that I think and hope and actually know will help you improve if you implement them. Okay, so definitely consider subscribing. To the rest of you, thank you so much for listening in. Again, we brought this back through popular demand. People have been asking me, where are the podcasts? I missed the podcasts. I was learning a lot from them, so that's why I'm bringing them back. We're going to be doing them every Wednesday. I want to make this a regular thing because I think there's a lot of things we can talk about and discuss, and I want to get a discussion going. So leave your questions, leave your comments in the comment section below, because I definitely want these to spark some kind of discussion, so that we can move forward and progress as players. Okay, guys, so that's enough for me today. I think I'm even tired of hearing my own voice right now. So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for listening in. Make sure you do all the things that I mentioned. And I guess we can do a hashtag. We'll do a hashtag. What was one of the topics? Hashtag we're back, okay? Hashtag we're back, since the podcasts are back. And if you do that and ask me a question, I'm more inclined and more likely going to answer your question either just straight in the comments or in an actual podcast. All right, guys, thank you again for tuning in. I'll see you in the next podcast or in the next video. Take care.